What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Espresso, and welcome back to another Infinite Warfare video here today on the channel. And again, another 5 things that changed here with this one. Today we're going to be doing another 5 things that changed for the Infinite Warfare beta, talking about the things that changed from the time of the alpha or COD XP build, whatever you want to call that portion of the game build, to whenever we got to play it here last weekend and the weekend before within the Infinite Warfare beta. Now, of course, this is going to continue over on into the full release here. We're going to be doing this series, taking a look at changes that are made from the beta as well as earlier to whenever the game is fully released here with this. But this one is going to be focusing more so on some trivia, some fun facts, some things you might not have recognized, or if you guys were not at COD XP, you might not even notice because some of the stuff I couldn't even show off to you guys at that point. So that said, bear that in mind. It is not going to be any groundbreaking changes, anything that really changes your entire perception of the game. Just some fun facts here with this. But before we get too far, and if you guys enjoy it, maybe drop a like down below. And if you guys are new to the channel, maybe consider subscribing as well so you don't miss any episodes of the 5 things that changed. Still doing a Tuesday, Thursday schedule with that, so hopefully you guys do enjoy this. But all that said and out of the way, let's talk about our first change here with this one. For that first change, we're going to be heading over to the sniper category of our creator class, where we can take a look at the weapons that we had available to us in the beta. And if you take a look at that sniper category, you have 4 snipers to take a look at: the KBS longbow, the EBR 800, the Widowmaker, and the DMR 1. Those were your 4 choices here. The DMR was not available in the beta build of the game, but the Widowmaker was, so you had 3 options to play with in the beta when it came to snipers. So you had a decent amount of choices, but whenever you actually went over and took a look at the COD XP build, well, there are actually only 2 snipers, not 4. So those ones in the COD XP build were the KBS longbow and the EBR 800. Another thing that a lot of people may not recognize, also a quick little fun fact to add onto this, was the EBR 800 actually back in the COD XP build had almost absolutely no recoil. So for those of you guys that used the EBR 800 in the beta and knew how much it kicked, you would have liked it a lot more back in early September here with that build, because it was just a laser shooter. There was almost no recoil here with this. I know that I had on some of my videos with that, using the EBR 800 from previously, there were people that came over and actually saw during the beta, they were wondering why I didn't have any recoil here on that. That's the reasoning, but regardless though, overall, there were 2 different snipers added into it here. Though one was not playable, it was one that was known about, and then the Widowmaker was one that I saw used a lot, that previously was not available to anyone during the early September build. Now, the second change here with this one is going to deal with a little bit of the way that you unlocked things, perks more specifically here with this one, and there's 2 categories affected here by these perk changes, that being the tier 1 perks as well as then the tier 2 perks affected by this change. So those perks affected were firstly Overclock. That was previously unlocked before Ghost. It previously was Dexterity, Overclock, and then Ghost, but then it was then changed for the beta and the full game here, presumably, to Dexterity, Ghost, and Overclock. And then additionally, the same thing could be said for the tier 2 perks, that involving Tac Resist as well as Momentum. Previously, that went Momentum, Hardline, and Tac Resist, but in the beta and then presumably once again the full build of Infinite Warfare, the perk unlock system went Tac Resist, Hardline, and then Momentum. So they were flip-flopped for both of these instances, where the perks of a lesser class were then bumped up to the higher and the higher was dropped down to the lesser. So however you want to spin it with the tier 2 perks, it doesn't affect it all that much because they're relatively quick to be unlocked here within the system, since it is the low rankings that go into those first couple of perks. But whenever you take a look at the tier 1 perks, that's something that it does then become a little bit more of a hindrance, because Ghost is something that I personally think could use a little work because it doesn't require you to keep moving. So it is something that is unlocked before Overclock, which simply charges up your payload a little bit faster. I feel like that is something that doesn't need to be as set up on this pedestal that it currently is with the higher ranking system. I feel like Ghost would definitely be one of those perks that fits that higher ranking unlock for it, but I'm not the one that makes the big bucks here for this. That's just my personal input. But regardless, that's going to take the second spot here with this one. Now, the third change that we're going to be talking about here within this one actually deals with the main menu of multiplayer. It's something that you probably would notice right away if you saw a comparison image of it, and it definitely makes it a lot more. It adds some more attributes that were not previously in the game that we talked about last week, but it also adds in just a better design and aesthetic to it overall. So the main menu will have the ability to find match, select your mission teams, create a class, go to the quartermaster, and enter your barracks from the beta. But previously all we had the option to do was create a class, because obviously that was something that we did not have the ability to find a game online, because, well, the consoles were connected via via LAN, and then the backing image actually was what I think is making it a little bit more aesthetically pleasing here. Previously in the menu selection, it only had one of the bare backgrounds here with it. There is only one set image with this as well, and it doesn't change every so often like it does in the beta. And another thing is that the combat rig is not center and focused within this also. That's something that I guarantee you guys would notice immediately with a comparison here of this. And then additionally, on top of this, we did not have the mission teams available to us in early September. So the entire Orion initiative and the other ones alike here with this, with the challenges that you have, the mission objectives, along with your rank, keys, and salvage, and then of course COD points in the later versions of the game that's going to be coming out with the build of it at release. That was something that was not overlaid as well on the main menu and the find lobby type of menu here with it. So that is something that had a bunch of massive changes to it and definitely is much better looking now. I think it's definitely not as bland and as boring looking, if I'm totally honest with you. It does look a lot nicer now with this as we get closer to the launch and the build that will come along with the game at that point. Now, the fourth change here going into this one is one that I'm sure a lot of you guys probably could have guessed, but it was definitely something that was solidified here with the beta because we got it announced to us additionally. But previously, we did not have any access to any of the classic weapons. We even had very limited access to some of the weapons that were actually in the game. Sure, we had some that were not available via locked properties within the beta, but there were also less weapons in general with the build at COD XP, the alpha, whatever you want to call that, once again in early September here with this. But the big thing that I really wish I could have seen here with this that we would have showcased a little bit earlier within the year here with this is the classic weapons. Classic weapons, once again, were a little bit of a newer thing here. I don't remember if we actually had them officially announced to us here at the time of COD XP. I think we might have, but I know for certain that we knew about them at the press conference, but I don't know if the general public had that information available at that point. But regardless, it was something that was either relatively new or not necessarily entirely known by everybody, but it was something that was still relatively out there. But the beta, we got our first look at some of the confirmed weapons, some of the weapons that we'll be seeing here with the release of Infinite Warfare, and of course, via classic weapon tokens, via prestiging. So that is including some weapons like the OSA, the MACTAV 45, the TF141, the S-Ravage, the M1, and other weapons alike. And of course, I do believe we're gonna get more classic weapons as the year goes on and progresses. But regardless, it was one of those things where there were not any available to us here at the earlier builds that we got to play out at COD XP. Currently, we could see them, we couldn't play with them save for gun game whenever there was the random RMG that went into the setting up of the lobby and the players got to use specific weapons. We got to get our hands-on experience with some of them via that, but that is basically it here. None of them were able to be used in create a class normally, and is something that we just got to look at them, but not actually touch. So it was one of those things where you could gaze from afar, but not actually get hands-on experience. But regardless, I think it was nice to see some of these here with this, and I definitely enjoy the fact that we could see some coming with the beta. So that said, that's gonna lead us into the final change here at this one. This one is one that was just a little bit more trivial and I found pretty cool. It was one of those things that you don't necessarily notice unless you compare the menus hardcore for what it was worth with it, but that is gonna deal with an optic, and one optic in particular within Infinite Warfare. In the beta, you might have used an optic called the Scout Hybrid. That actually was slightly changed a little bit, not necessarily the design overall, but instead the naming system here of it. It was not previously called the Scout Hybrid back when we played it out at COD XP back in early September, and in that time it was just a short little time period, but it was changed from what it was previously, that being the RICO Hybrid or IRCO Hybrid. If I'm not mistaken, that falls in line with the nomenclature of the different terminology within the sights and optics for Call of Duty previously, but the RICO Hybrid was definitely one that we had not seen before, we have not heard about, and so the transition back to the Scout Hybrid is something that intrigues me a little bit why it was changed up here. I don't know if we'll ever know why, but once again, it's a little bit more trivial. It's not something that really makes a grand scheme or massive difference within the game, but it is something that piques my interest here, and definitely my curiosity is piqued at this one. But that is going to conclude the 5 changes here within this episode. That is going to do it for this week's 5 changes from Infinite Warfare's alpha to the beta stage here with this. So hopefully you guys did enjoy. I would love to hear your thoughts down there in the comment section down below. Did you guys find anything that you think may have been a change, or which one of these were your favorite in particular? We got a couple of these more left, but we might actually have some runoff into whenever Infinite Warfare actually launches, so might hold that off for a little bit here where we just do that later on and compare them earlier to the current build of the game. But regardless, we still got a couple more weeks here planned of this. Hopefully you guys do enjoy, and if you guys do, make sure you drop a like rating down below, and of course, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of these here with this. Once again, we're doing a Tuesday, Thursday schedule with it. I might have actually another terminal changes, 5 terminal changes from the map of that within Infinite Warfare. You guys seem to really like that one from last weekend. Might have another one going live here with this, but I'm not entirely sure. Regardless, we got 5 things premiering at least twice a week here with this, so make sure you guys subscribe to stay up to date with that so you don't miss any of that here with it. But finally, if you guys want to stay connected with me a little bit more, Twitter is the best place to do so. That link is always down there in the description below as well. But thank you guys so much for the recent support. Really do appreciate it. Mine has been Nikolai Espresso. I will see you guys later. Hopefully you guys did enjoy, and hopefully you guys are having a great day as well. So take care and peace.